Hello everybody and welcome to this video where I will be talking with my friend Errol. Errol is from Turkey but now lives on the West Coast USA. Obviously we're going to be talking about the big disaster in Turkey and Syria, but yeah, just tell us, what you're up to and where you are and why you're in the US.
Well, I was born and raised in Turkey. I'm originally from Istanbul, and I've been living in the US for 7 years now. I came as an international student, then 2 years ago, I decided to stay here permanently. Well, the reason I left Turkey was I don't think it is what it was, and I don't think it's heading to the right direction. And that's why I decided to live in a country where democracy and minorities are better protected.
Did you find it easy to settle in the United States?
Oh, no. Settling in somewhere else has never been easy. I don't really recall if any immigrant can say that. But it's been especially challenging in the US because US is taking so many immigrants all across the world, and they have different procedure for every single country. And then the pandemic hit, so the system is super backlogged. And there is has been a political shift in the US as well. Trump, then now Biden. It used to be harder, now easier.
And is it home for you? Do you feel like you are at home in the US? Do you still feel that you're Turkish? Do they treat you like an immigrant?
Well, I live in California, so they're pretty much welcoming towards immigrants. So they make me feel I'm home. Californians and the US people in general make me feel home.
Let's talk about the big news that's coming out of Turkey and of Syria. Can you talk a little bit about that region? How much does it differ from the other side of the border in Syria? Are these people quite culturally close?
I would say so. I mean, there are economically close. I mean, especially social economy, and they are geographically very close to each other. So you would expect some sort of, exchange. They're in a bad shape, to be honest. Of course, the Turkish part could be a little bit luckier, but people are poor, and both of the governments are not doing enough to help these people, both on Syrian side and Turkish side, if you ask me.
What about Erdogan? What do you think of his initial response to it?
Turkey every year, every month, pay tax for earthquakes and natural disasters. Nobody is asking where did this money go? Where did it go? I mean, we've been paying this for years just for that situation, and the money is non-existent. Turkish government is pleading for help, asking for money from its citizens who have been affected by the earthquake. They can't really sugarcoat this. They will try because Turkish people are forgetting quick. And because we've seen examples in the past when the earthquake hit the West, and if you remember, over 200 miners died, and the same city voted for Erdogan in the general elections, and he won landslide 90% of the votes. His base consists of conservative people, so they want to conserve what they have, and they don't really see any other alternative on the political spectrum. So they need to stick with him because he is someone who defends their values, because he's a religious person, and this was just a fate. It's an act of God, and there was nothing to do about it.
Oh,
But
right.
when this is what their mindset, and it cost lives. Their ignorance cost lives. The same magnitude earthquakes take place in Japan, but they don't have the same death toll. So we just need to get smart a little bit so that we don't have this type of tragedies.
What do you think then that the political forces outside of Turkey should do in terms of dealing with Erdogan? And how do they balance what they should do with him with how they should give aid to the Turkish people? How do you sort that mess out?
Well, after the series of scandals, I think the international community is all too familiar with the corruption, accountability, and transparency issues within the Turkish government. The money coming from the US is directly deposited to individuals who are proven to be reliable and their organizations. So they're not really directly talking to the Turkish government. Of course, technical information is being exchanged, but on the financial part, they're not really provided any money. The US has stopped relying on Erdogan for a long time. They don't really trust him anymore because when you look back on they had a lot of corruptions. They had funds coming from Europe, and it then later revealed that those funds actually went to election party programs.
And are the Turkish people aware of where the money is coming from and how it is being used and distributed?
Well, Turkish people didn't know about the economy until 2 years ago when the economy completely collapsed and it was impossible to ignore. Turkish people are very trusting people. That might sound good and sincere, but in some cases, it's a very dangerous thing when you have a political Islamist running the country because they will use religion by any means to take advantage for their own self. So this is when it becomes dangerous, and this is what Turkey has been going for the past 20 years. There were times where US had good relations with Erdogan. Let's not forget that. But ever since I started speaking about politics, I said Erdogan is never good as you give him credit for. He is the bad actor, and I remember it like yesterday when he came to power. He was very liberal. He was talking about women, democracy, and minorities, even LGBTQ people, in a good manner, in good intentions. Then he started change the separation of religion and state just forgotten, and you don't have such thing anymore. So the absolute power actually corrupted absolutely. Now he has turned into who I call a complete dictator and totalitarian person running Turkey and ruining it for years.
Do you think that those countries providing aid to Syria and to Turkey should be treating Bashar al-Assad in the same way that they treat Erdogan? Or is there a difference between the two?
Well, if you ask me, I don't really see a fundamental, substantial difference between them because they're both totalitarian. Erdogan can most of the time can get totalitarian as much as the opposition allows. In most cases, Assad doesn't have an opposition. That's the problem. But I don't think the other countries will put them in the same category because Turkey is technically a long-time ally to NATO and the EU.
Do you think that the US should work with Assad?
Well, they can talk if it's going to benefit the people in Syria because this misery has been going on for a long time. I think compromise, concessions can remedy this problem. But of course, US should stay its ground in defending democracy, equal share, and the voice of Syrian opposition. These elements must be protected. We can't just offer everything on a silver plate for Bashar Assad. It wouldn't be logical after all. But of course, in the face of this disaster, we should do everything, even though there is no official request from Syrian government. If we are to defend democracy and human rights and value human life, we should be first to help, even though without an invitation. There are ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even just finding those ways, even just looking for those ways.
The effort will create a goodwill, and
Yeah.
I'm sure rest will follow.
Yeah, I agree. And it needs to be on all sides as well. I mean, the Turks, the Syrians, when I say the Turks, I mean the government, the Syrian government and the Western governments. They, for the sake of humanity, need to sit round the table and work out how they help each other without, as you say, this compromise to democracy and safety and stability. But I personally think that it's definitely something to do. The effort should be made. There is always a way to do these things, and to immediately exclude things from the very beginning, to me, is just not the way to do it.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree on that issue with you.
Okay, Errol, thank you very much for your time, and
You're
I'll
for
speak to you
having
soon.
me.
Bye bye now.